Howdy, I'm Hasu, captain of the Atlas Tournament. Today, we're talking about Persona 5 Tactica and the complaints revolving around this game and the marketing. As you can see already, we have a video up and ready and rolling. We're not gonna watch that. Why would I ever watch these guys' videos? But here you go. I'm not gonna name his name. I don't care. One of the biggest complaints that we've had, one of them, is the need to move on from Persona 5. We need these games. Why? Because they help fund future games. That's why we have Tactica. That's why we had Dancing. That's why we had Strikers. You get my point. Unicorn Overlord. We can't make games like that if we don't buy and make other smaller titles. Potentially Persona 5 Arena and maybe potentially Persona 5 Mario Party game. These games can't afford to just make them profit until the next mainline title comes out, which is Persona 6, which everybody is clamoring and craving for. We can't do that. That's not how life works, right? They need to make money. They need to do things. Because guess what? All of those profits aren't just going to Persona. It's not going to Persona 6. It's not going to just Persona 3 Reloaded. That money goes to Atlas. And then guess what? They budget it out amongst all of the developers, the P Studio, the Studio Zero, and also SMT teams. That's why we have remasters. That's why they're doing remakes, so they can help fund future titles. That's why these games are taking so long. Everybody may be complaining about the need to move on to the next mainline game. Is that without it, if we didn't have those games being made, sure, you're complaining about it now. Oh yeah, they're milking Persona 5. They did that with Persona 4. We've seen it already. But those same complaints have rolled over from Persona 4. It's just people want something new. Tired of the current cast. Guess what? They will leave. It's just an eventuality. It's just a matter of time. But guess what? Enjoy it while we have it, because the second they announce Persona 6, everybody's gonna be like, oh no, we have to say goodbye to P5. Yes, of course. That's the point. It's like Doctor Who. We all have to move on, and it'll be bittersweet. And then guess what? When they start milking Persona 6, you're gonna get mad about that too, because then guess what? They're not gonna be able to do games like Unicorn Overlord. They're not gonna be able to do games like Strikers. They're not gonna be able to do games like Persona Q, Persona Q2. They're not going to be able to do games like Tactica. They're not going to be able to do games like Persona 3 Reload. Why? Because they don't have the funds. Persona 5 took 8 years after Persona 4. Not Golden, by the way, after the release. So 2008 all the way to 2016. So 8 years, 17 for the West. And that's not counting Golden, right? And guess what? Golden/Royals development team? That's Persona 6. That's the new team. That's the new P Studio team. Guess what Persona 3, 4, 5 Studio's doing? They're Studio Zero now. They're off making Metaphor ReFantazio. And guess what? That game didn't get any mentions. Metaphor ReFantazio was actually the one game that didn't get leaked, surprisingly. Guess what did? Persona 3 Reload and Persona 5 Tactica. Why? You could say, you never saw it coming. It was literally your last fucking surprise. Maybe it was intentional. Maybe it wasn't faked, and maybe there was actually no intern that got fired. Everyone's just making it up, and Atlas is like, you know what? We're not gonna say nothing about that. We're just gonna let them think that shit. To misdirection and subterfuge and deceive you into believing, oh yeah, you've seen everything. So when the Metaphor ReFantazio trailer actually was revealed, guess what? You're more excited because you expected nothing more. So your expectations were lower because like, oh, I've already seen everything. And then guess what? That was the last trailer they showed. Somehow, magically, that was the one that wasn't leaked? Someone explain that to me? If you can't, then I wonder why they did it. I wonder why it was leaked. A lot of YouTubers I've been seeing have been hating on Tactica. Haven't played the game, by the way, because they're not getting access to the game, because you'll find out soon enough. But everyone's complaining Persona 5 Tactica is not going to do well sales-wise. Obviously, it's not. It is an anthology game. It is not a mainline title. It is a sequel to Persona 5. But obviously, it's not going to be as robust as any of the other mainline games. Persona 3, FES, Portable, Persona 4, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 5, Persona 5 Royal. It's not going to have the extensive design because it's not built that way. It's built to tell a specific story. Each game, Persona 4 Arena, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, Persona Q, Persona Q2, they're all somewhat fan servicey, yes. But that's the point of those games. They're for the fans. That's why they don't do well sales-wise. Because people may like the mainline titles, but they're not going to go out and explore, potentially, all the niche games, which are for what? The enthusiasts. And then guess what? You personally will help fund them to see more games, to see Persona 6. Because guess what? It takes time, it takes money, it takes effort to make those games requires money and resources. So to say we should move on is asinine and idiotic. Go do that. Hey, how about playing Etrian Odyssey? There was an Origins collection recently, by the way, if you didn't know that. Hey, maybe if you help with sales, maybe it'll fund more remasters to modern platforms. Who would have thunk such a concept existed? We're moving on. Who cares about sales? Oh, but if it sells well, it's not going to convince people to play the game. It's not going to convince people to go out and buy it. Of course, it's not going to do the same amount as Persona 5. That's not the point. Do you want to know why none of these smaller Persona tubers or Atlas tubers didn't get review copies? Pure Xbox, look at 16K. Does anything on this screen tell you what could potentially be the reason for this YouTube channel getting a review copy compared to an Atlas YouTuber? Damn, I don't know. I can't think of anything. Man, where's Dora Explorer when you really need her? Xbox promote it for their platform so that they can get sales, right? But guess what? It's affecting the overall sales, right? I don't want to hear this argument about Persona 3 overshadowing Tactica, because it's not. There's a lot, and on Japan's side, they are promoting the fuck out of this game. And guess what? Most people are reviewing it on the Switch. Most people are saying, hey, the proper way to play this, or the best way to play this, is on the Nintendo Switch. Because if you're telling people to specifically go to this one specific platform to buy and play the game, guess what? That's detrimental to sales. It should be multi-platform. Makes no fucking sense. Because your argument is that it should be available for everybody, which is good. Yeah, sure. Why not? 4 sources of revenue rather than 3 without the Xbox, right? Oh, if it's only PlayStation and Switch, then that's only 2. But then guess what? None of that matters when you're telling people to buy it on a specific platform. Sales aren't going to be skyrocketing. It's not going to be the next God of War. It's not going to be the next Spider-Man. But it'll do well. And that's fine. So what do? Go buy the game if you want it. If you don't. Simple as fucking that. Why? Because the game's there regardless of whether anybody wants it or not. Whether it's unnecessary or necessary. You want to support the developers? Buy the game. Oh, it's a side game. They're not putting the same emphasis on Persona 5 Tactica as they are with Reload. Persona 3 Reload is a remake of a mainline game. And probably one a lot of players haven't played, because now that Reload has been revealed, guess what? They're like, oh, fuck that. I'm gonna just wait. I'll just wait for a Reload. Why are we complaining about it now? Because this is potentially hurting sales. What does that tell people? Don't buy the game. It's not good. It's gonna do bad sales-wise. One last little detail. It's not chibi. It's fucking rubber hose. This has been a rant. Honestly, I'm surprised I didn't pop a blood vessel. But with that being said, I've been Hasu, captain of the Atlas Whoredom. Thank y'all for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, however you choose to spend it. Until then, itakimasu. Rubber hose.